Hi all, my name is David Blowbaum. I'm one of the co-owners of Summit Prep, and I just wanted to spend a little bit of time today to talk about the importance of real-life applications of foundational math topics that are tested on the SAT and ACT. So we tend to think of the SAT and ACT as testing unimportant topics, but as you'll see, these topics can be very important for real life. So this was a recent Facebook post that I read today. So be happy and relaxed. According to the CDC, if you're under 70 and got infected, you have a 0.005% chance to die, or 99.995% chance to get over it fine, etc., etc. So this caught my attention for two reasons. Number one, that's a really low percent chance to pass away from COVID. And number two, he's citing the CDC, so not some crazy random person. So I clicked on this link just to see, hey, does the data actually support this? And that link brings us to this page. And among other things, I think where he was getting his 0.005% chance was here. So what is that actual number? So it says infection fatality ratio, and what's the best estimate for infection fatality ratio for those under 70? Yeah, 0.005. So it's like, whoa, this guy's right. But he's not. So it comes down to understanding, this foundational topic of what is a percent and how do we use percents. So what they don't usually teach it like this in math, but what is a percent? A percent is any number multiplied by 100. So you take any number, you multiply it by 100. And that gets you a percent. So this is actually a rate, so 0.005 rate of fatality. So like nobody understands that, right? But let's multiply it by 100 because that's how you turn any number into a percent. And 0.005 times 100 becomes 0.5%. So it's not a 0.005% chance to die. You multiply the rate of 0.005 times 100, and that's a 0.5% chance to die. So he was 100 times off. Very different 0.005% chance to 0.5% chance. But it really comes down to his confusion was not a knock against him, really, because most people get this confused. So I just wanted to talk about, well, what is a rate and what is a percent? So the reason why rates aren't usually quoted among lay people, they might be quoted in an academic table, is because rates are really hard to really wrap our mind around and conceptualize. And here's why. To understand a rate of 0.005, you have to count up the digits and figure out, well, what digit are you in? So this is the tens unit, the tens digit. This is the hundreds digit. This is the thousands digit. So now if I convert this 0.005 to what it actually is a fraction out of its digit, out of its thousands digit, it's 5 out of 1,000 people who got COVID would pass away from it if they're under 70, really between 50 and 69. So that's much easier to conceptualize, right? Just put a rate as a fraction. But if we want to make it even easier for people, especially if we don't want to have to count digits, then you can just multiply any number and put it into a percent, and it's much easier to conceptualize. So as we said, to make something a percent, you multiply by 100. So we take that 0.005, multiply by 100, and that 0.005 becomes 0.5%. So most people find it much easier to conceptualize a 0.5% chance of passing away from something than a fatality rate of 0.005, right? And it comes down to what the reason actually 0.5% is easier for us to conceptualize is actually because of what's happening sort of behind the scenes when we're quoting a percent. So if you imagine we had the rate of 0.005, we multiplied by 100 to make it into a percent. So really a percent is just the original number multiplied by 100. So how would you get a percent back to the original number? You divide by 100. So percent is just you divide by 100 and now you have the original number. So 0.5% chance, if we want to turn that back into its original number but not really looking like that, 0.5% is 0.5 divided by 100. So we multiply by 100 to get it, you divide by 100 to get it back to what it was. And this is why percents are easier to conceptualize, because percents tell us a number out of 100. Even if we're not really realizing it, that's what our brain is conceptualizing, an amount out of 100. So what a percent is really doing is it's taking this 0.05 and it's turning it into a number out of 100 that we can understand. So a rate of 0.05 is half of a person, 0.5 of a person, out of 100 people. So hopefully that gives a better understanding of why do we have percents and what is a percent. To recap, multiply by 100 and then you get a percent. So hope everyone is doing well and staying healthy. Take care.